Money, money, money.
Morning LPI.
Between Zest and Dark. And again, not too much on the line for Zest. He's out of this one. He wants to pick up a lot of money on his way out, no doubt, as SOS was able to do earlier on. But Dark, he really wants to get this win so that he can get up into 6th place and have a better shot at the fast lane.
Zest, made it through the qualifiers, made Premier, made it through the GSL qualifiers, but those are basically his best achievements of Star Leagues this year in 2017, and with no Pro League and with no support of KT, he's just really struggled, whereas Dark, who was the finalist of our last SSL last year, just looks to be as strong as ever, and that's for him in this case like a pretty nice position in Premier, but I feel like a lot of people are disappointed with his results, but I think it's really, when you compare him to other Zergs, it just feels like Solar and Biel played much better overall than Dark in this season of Premier. We'll see if he can win this last series. Actually matters a lot for his standing.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the other two Zergs because they both 2-0'd him.
Yep.
Dark, kind of famously not the best at GBZ, and it was very apparent this season and definitely hurt his chances. If he was able to win those two, he'd be sitting at 6-2 up at the top of the rankings, but definitely a different kind of tournament for him. We're going to be jumping into the match right now. Newkirk Precinct for Game 1.
Zest, 주성우, Dark, 황영우.
Fly Better Fly, Jin Air. As we jump into our last set, down in the bottom left, the yellow Protoss, it is Zest.
As opponent to the bottom right, in purple, it is Dark. So PBZ finally this evening. Seeing all the other non-mirrors, so we'll be taking a look at this one. Zest really changing up his playstyle a lot since we started this season, playing very much only Archon drops for a long time, and then finally starting to change things up. Showing a lot of different timing attacks, and even Stargate openers in the matchup now. Dark actually goes for pool first, and a fast gas, and Probe Scout sees it right away. So Zest knows exactly what he's up against. He's even going to harass this mineral line.
Yeah, interesting early scout from Zest, and he doesn't even try to block the hatchery for a very long time. Just getting in there, denying the minerals. Dark actually sending his drone back there on the minimap. Not the fastest timing there on the hatchery, but either way, as you said, the pool will come out first. Might want to poke a little bit, but we'll definitely be safe.
Yep, drones had enough of this harass. Actually takes 1 hit point off the probe.
Whoa.
He's crazy!
Mad lads here.
Mad r/mad drones. You see that? I talked to Rap about it. It was a drone that like did a wheelie in the GSL.
Oh, because of the Reaper grenade?
Yeah, you saw that, right? Yeah. That was a mad drone, man. So, yeah, that drone post on Facebook. Probe was harassing. I had enough. I smacked him around once.
I told him to get out of here.
I told him he's crazy. This is a Zerg base. So, Nexus going to finish up now, and obviously this is just fast link speed from Dark. He, however, did not pull out of gas, so he has a lot of banked up gas here. I think he just did after I said that. Just mining it very slowly now, but
yeah, just one drone.
And he's got a decent amount of gas banked up. I wonder what this idea is going to be for here. Probes try to deny the scout here. Sloppy, and the Stargate is scouted. I think Dark has some sort of follow-up plan that's a little bit more unusual with his fast link speed. This feels like it might be like a Zerling drop or something. Taking a look at the Overlords now, the Korean combatants I think have the same idea. We'll see if he decides to commit to that. Speed's done now. And so far everything pretty normal. Just a fast speed, really safe opening from Dark, and
yeah,
he's not making any more lings, he's just making drones, so perhaps not. Perhaps he just wants to play a straight up game now that his third hatch is going up.
And Zest will commit to the Oracle here. We'll see what kind of damage he does get done. You can see Dark already has his Overlord there. Probably will make a bunch of spores right now. Perfect timing. And we'll have 3 queens when he's ready. Has his third base finishing up. And curious to see what the follow-up will be from Zest. When is he going to take that third base? Has the Oracle to defend it against any kind of ling speed if he was worried about that. But for now, it just looks like he wants to put on a bit of pressure at 2 locations. One side with the Oracle, and then shade in with the Adepts, maybe try to hit the mineral line. We've seen SOS do that many times, famously just sacrificing a bunch of Adepts over and over to try to kill as many drones as possible. Looks like he's going to group them up, actually, and say, hey, you don't get to mine from this third base for a very long time.
He could just target down the Spore, kills the Larva. I always love when players do that, because it's actually quite significant. He's not going to kill the Spore with his Oracle, actually. Wants to draw the Queens over here and then hit where the Queens are not at the natural. There is a Spore Crawler here, but it does take out several. Shades away. The Adept's actually just running away completely up to the top here. You can see them now surrounded by these lings. No Oracle for protection. Now it's coming in.
And a second one to join up too. But the lings will run away. So, yeah, just a bit of harass being put on. The third base from Zest is heavily delayed. He's gone up to 1,300 minerals.
Wow.
And the Oracles are going to be late to defend this.
Yeah.
They're going to be late. That's pretty unfortunate for Zest. He's following up with a Void Ray.
He's supply blocked, mind you, as well.
Supply blocked. There are probes that are actually blocked by the Adepts at the wall right now. I think there's about 2 or 3 built up. So
yeah, the probes won't automatically go by the wall unless they're clicked on minerals. So those Adepts are on hold position there. He's adding now a double Robo and a Forge. This is a lot of free time for Dark to macro up, though. That was a very aggressive attack, and it was very frustrating for Dark to deal with, but just not keeping up at home. Having to cancel that Nexus is already a frustration. It was delayed so significant before that anyways. I'm going to just commit to the double Oracle. You can one-shot drones like this. Actually gets 6. Gets away, doesn't lose either of the Oracle. They can come back later for another pass. The Spore Crawler will be repositioned as a result. Will he just immediately tech into the Robo Bay or just go double Immortal here? Let's find out what he's got planned.
And
Observers first. Observers first, but
yeah.
See what he does after that. He is floating so many minerals. He's long distance mining. This feels like Zest is a little bit off in everything he's doing in this game, so
yeah,
it looks really sloppy, but it's like, actually, StarCraft 2 is such a hard game that when you make like a few mistakes, everything looks wrong.
Yeah, that's kind of the story for Zest here in SSL Premier. It's like everything just looks a little bit off. The builds are weird. He doesn't do what other Protosses do. He's kind of off meta, but not in a good way. You know, he's like kind of just doing his own thing, trying to reinvent the matchup, and it just doesn't really work. You know, the small things like the probes getting blocked, the minerals going a little bit too high,
missing the pylon. The things like this that...
Just like the gateways are a little bit late, too. You know, the third base is already up and mining.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little bit all over the place.
I wonder if he will just do an Immortal Adept all-in with Glaives. His Twilight Council just finished. Maybe starts the Glaives here. Oh, it would still be quite strong. Like, Dark is playing pretty greedy. His 4th base is coming up. He's got Baneling speed on the way. Zest is not making anything out of that Twilight Council. There's the... Finally, the Templar Archive. So, I mean, that was a late archive considering the Twilight Council was done for quite some time, but see what he decides to do with this. It may just be Immortal, Zealot, Archon. So I think he just made some Zealots.
Yeah, he made 5 Zealots, but there's no charge on the way, and he's floating 900, 700.
I just feel like I like look at this and I go, if I'm trying to explain to somebody what Zest is doing in this game, I can't, because I don't know if he even has fully decided exactly what it is that he's trying to do. Zealots without charge, when he had money for Adepts, is so unusual. Storm's now on the way, which is pretty reasonable, normal in this matchup.
Yeah.
That's but he cancels it, actually, and then makes 8 Templar. So...
Yeah, I don't really know what to say,
by the way, for Dark.
There's the charge. Okay.
So, I mean...
so the pieces are finally coming together here, Wolf.
I think he's finally he's finally deciding what he wants to do, which is going to be that Charge Zealot Archon attack.
With 14 gateways.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, he's going to have... Oh, as the room goes silent. He's going to have a lot of... He's going to have a lot of mining at that 4th base. Like, he has a decent amount of bank, and I guess he made 6 more gateways because he really wants to hit his timing really crisp and, or like really tight and make as many Zealots as he can. The Swarmos tech actually might be a liability for Dark in this case because it's now spotted and it's being harassed by these Archons. It's not going to be too useful on the defense either against this big attack that's about to hit with 14 Warp Gates. Starting Plasma Shields too, so I mean, there's that as well.
Swarmos are pretty fast, man. They're outrunning those Oracles.
Okay, well this
he's not in position for this.
This is going to kill some of his gateways. Don't worry, he's got a few to spare.
Okay. I guess those Swarmos were actually a little bit farther away than I realized, but still a nice bit of damage onto those gateways. Now trying to break down these rocks. Nice positioning on that cannon there, pretty much perfect. And the 14 gateways are going to be used effectively here as he has a giant bank of minerals to make a bunch of Zealots if he wants to.
Okay, Plasma Shields is almost done. That's going to make his Archons a lot tougher for this big push. It's also going to be pretty helpful for the Immortals. Archon drop on the main base here. Here's 8 of his 14 Warp Gates warping in, Charge Zealots, and now he's going to head up here with the Archons to lead the charge against these Banelings. Actually, decent split, but Banelings do connect with a lot of his Zealots. Swarmos do get another charge off of these Locusts. The drop in the main base looks to be completely shut down, and this attack is over. Zest, I feel like, completely freestyling in this game 1 and getting shut down as he tries to.
The Oracles weren't attacking for the majority of that fight. They just weren't turned on. If he was dealing with all the Lings before they got on top of all those units, then perhaps he would have been able to hold that off a little bit better. Now they're kind of just sticking there. Dark, on the other hand, he's kind of just been heavily teching up the entire game on like 85 drones because Zest really was never able to get any significant harassment done after that first attack.
This game from Zest reminds me of one thing, and I know like a few out there will get this reference, but when we had the Brood War StarCraft 2 hybrid Pro League season, where all the Kessa players were just learning how to play the game, and they were like really fast and smart, but didn't really know builds or like how the game worked entirely. That's like what I feel like I'm watching with Zest here. Like, this is just not a thing, and he's done it. This is not the first time he tried this Charge Zealot attack, but it's not working well. Even against this super wonky Swarm Host composition, his micro was off, his Oracles are in the middle of the map doing nothing. And you could see this is practiced by him, but it just doesn't, it's not going to stack up against more meta play. And even though Dark's not playing the most meta game here with the Swarm Hosts, he's done so well at holding this off. He's got so many bases up now, and did he ever even get Storm? I don't think so. I think he's just making pure Archons. No. He's at 1-1 with +1 attack and +1 shields. A +2 attack's going to be done soon. I mean, there are Broodlords on the map now. Like,
yeah. He's getting Blink now, which is going to be good for those Broodlords, but I think it might be a little bit too late. He has currently 0 Stalkers on the map. Has a lot of gateways to make those Stalkers, I suppose. But no Fleet Beacon, nothing else that he can use to deal with the stuff in the sky.
Yeah, like he's going to have to get these Archons underneath them somehow with a lot of buffer here with the Zerling. It's going to be tough.
And the Locust, man.
Yeah, the Locust, not consistent buffer, but when they are firing, obviously it's really, really strong.
Yeah, also the Broodlings.
Yeah, when the first Broodlings come out, if he gets like 2 waves of Broodlings before the Archons get under, he's going to have to walk away because the Archons will just kind of be body blocked by the Broodlings.
The composition of free units here from Dark.
He has a ton of gateways for Remax, and he can harass the Prism with a huge Zealot Warp in, for example. I'd like to see him do that against this slow, immobile composition. There's a Swarm Host and the Broodlords. Just use the gateway warp in power that he has to just harass around the map. Here we're going to see him attempt to, but he gets caught by the Banelings. I'm not entirely sure what that was, but Good micro here, at least on the Archons, to avoid some of these Brewlings. But this base is forfeit, it looks like. He's going to try to come underneath these Brewlords. Actually, the pillar in the middle of the map even working against him right now as he can't get underneath. Good positioning here by Dark. Baneling's going to remove a lot of these Archons. Locusts are here as well. And this is one of the weirdest games we've cast this season, but it is going to come to an end, it looks like here. Huge warband of Stalkers, though, and the Brewlords are really far forward. This is so weird, what we are casting right now. The Brewlords now get jumped on by the Stalkers, but here come the Lings to surround them.
And a lot more Lings where that came from.
Yep,
a huge
he has
swarm
so many
of them.
hatcheries.
You know, Dark has a huge bank too.
GG.
Dark will finally take that one. And I have to agree with you, not exactly what we were expecting here.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely a bit of a head scratcher. There was a moment when you, me, and the Korean companies all realized that Zest was making 14 gateways, and we were all just like, there was a pause where everyone was like, all right, let me try to see the brilliance in this. And then we're like, okay, well, let's just describe what this could mean, because that was not a normal game, not a normal strategy out of Zest. He has really been freestyling, you know? And when you see a freestyle game of SOS where he lives in a team house, he has tons of players to practice with and like scrim with, if you will, for esports terms. He has that to practice these builds. Zest looks like he's freestyling on the fly in the game. Starting Storm, canceling it, the 14 gateways, the huge mineral bank. It all just felt a little bit unrehearsed, whereas Dark just had the Swarmos build in mind, was able to transition against this weird style. He's up 1-0 in this series now, Valdez.
Yeah, we'll see if he can take the win. Definitely favoring Dark coming into this one. We'll see if he can close it out going into Daybreak. Here we go, down in the bottom left. The Protoss player struggling to find a foothold in game one at Zest.
And up to the top right in purple, it is Dark, up 1-0 in this series. Zest again with a probe scout.
Yeah.
See what Dark is planning.
This is, I mean, everybody watches that first game and they're like, well, I think Dark's going to take this one 2-0. Dark, he's had trouble in ZVZ this year. Outside of that, he lost to Innovation, which a lot of people have, and Alive, he had a really close series. But, you know, I feel like if he had short up his ZVZ, Dark would be one of the most winning players in this entire tournament. And for him against Zest, I'm sure he's probably the most comfortable out of any of the matches that he's faced and should be feeling good about this one. I want to kind of call out the elephant in the room. Zest is like fallen down many, many tiers in my mind, and it's kind of sad to see because, you know, I cast a lot of challenge with Rapid too, and even from some of the lower level Protosses that are in that league, like Deer, like I think he's the perfect example. I think Deer is doing a lot better than Zest is right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's several tiers above, it feels like.
That's why I'm really interested to see the next season of Challenge and see exactly how Zest and SOS do. I feel like SOS kind of still, he's got it, but there were a lot of series that he lost 1-2, and it was very close. He was doing very wonky stuff. Some of it stuck, some of it didn't. It doesn't really look the same way that Zest does in some of his games. You know, SOS isn't getting destroyed with like builds that nobody does, essentially. So
I mean, I feel like we talked about this so many times, and I even hinted at it in this series, but it just feels like without the KT Rolster team house, practice partners behind him, like stats to give him ideas to bounce off of, practice partners in the house to just constantly run builds with, Zest just looks a bit clueless in terms of the meta, which leads me to believe that he's practicing alone because we're seeing him do styles that no one else has shown. And that can be an advantage if you're just practicing by yourself on the ladder and you learn a lot of builds that no one knows about and they use them in the tournament, for example. But it just feels like, especially in the last game, when you see moments like the Storm has started and then castled, and the large amount of gateways, the floated minerals, it just feels like Zest himself isn't coming into this best of 3 heavily prepared compared to Dark.
Yeah, for me it was when he was attacking with the Adepts and the Oracles, and obviously very high micro. He has to use those units very well in order for that attack to work, but we're talking like almost 1,300 minerals when he goes back to make that Nexus, and he's even late on that, so... You know, I don't want to call him out too much, but I feel like I had to mention that because it's very obvious to everyone watching. I don't want to insult the viewers and say, hey, you know, he's just having a bad day. Like,
he's having a bad tournament, man.
Yeah, having a bad 2017 so far. Hopefully he kind of picks it up and does better in Challenge. I mean, everybody knows that he still has the ability, but definitely hasn't been backing it up so far in 2017.
Yeah, it's just been rough, but. Coming back into this game here, we see the Oracle coming out. Sportcrawl is already coming up for Dark here. And he's going to have a decent amount of Queens to defend this. Another one's about to pop out at that 3rd base. But it's the combination of the Oracle and the Adepts. Very similar to what we saw in the last game.
Yeah. I like that Dark, he scouts it so he cancels the Overlord speed. Going to save all of that gas to use for something else. That's why he already... Or rather, he has 200 gas saved up at this point, not necessarily normal if you're going to get that speed.
So he has a 3rd base up way faster this time. You know, in the last game, had he built it even a little bit faster, he would have had more hit points, or probably would have had time to get the Oracles back to defend it. So it's just kind of a really unfortunate circumstance for him there, but he has it this time. Bring out the Void Raid, clear out the Overlords, and... will hopefully transition into a more normal play than what we saw the last game. Oracles fly right into these Queens, sadly. Already Dark predicting the location where the Oracles would fly in.
We do have that Void Ray follow-up once again. Very good for denying those Overlords that are very pesky around your base. And you actually see Dark does commit to the Overlord speed a little bit later. Seems like he decides that's a good idea. It's going to be very good for Overlord drops a little bit later on, but with the Void Ray outs, definitely not going to be as easy.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the idea too, is he was like, well, I'll probably be able to get a follow-up scout, but as soon as the Void Ray, he's like, ooh, I'm going to need Overlord speed to know, are you doing this crazy double robo into this weird charge style? Like, it's so unusual what Zest is doing, so Dark could die to anything he's never seen before in a pro match. So he wants to make sure he knows what he's dealing with before he ends up teching the Swarm Host. You know, he had a tough time initially in that fight because he only had Swarm Hosts, but just ended up out-microing Zest, and the Zealots are just kind of overall an outdated unit composition. So good splits against the Stasis, by the way, only having 2 drones denied mining.
Look at the play from Zest this game. This looks a lot more standard. Like, this just looks like a normal build, a meta build. He's doing it quite well. He's not floating a bunch of minerals and gas. It's like he woke up or something. I don't know what's going on. You know, Stasis wards are being microed very well. The Void Ray is taking out a bunch of units. He's going to have trouble holding off this, but up until now, he's been looking quite clean.
Yeah, he just doesn't even see it coming. No Stasis wards placed over here at all. Dark doesn't even have to trigger anything. The Baneling hit, not the best, but this one's going to be great. He has to go back, but that means the probes are going to get picked up. The Overlord drop here, which is part of the reason why he got that later speed, is going to allow the Queens for the chase. And this is going to be a dead 3rd base. It was not cheap for Dark to do this. He had to expend a lot of resources, had to use the Banelings. And now there's going to be a counterattack into his main base. This is actually a nice opportunity for Zest to do some counter damage because most of these units are not at home. If you get that big warp in and after these 4, that would be huge. He's going to have the Glaives in just a moment too. Using the Oracles as well. But 22 probes killed. He'll be hard-pressed to find that kind of damage with this Warp Prism.
Yeah. I feel like Dark was like, hey, let's end this one. Let's just go over there and kill him. I don't want to play a macro game on this map. And Zest, had he had his units back at home, the 2 Oracles would have done a huge number. Obviously, the Queens and the Speed Overlords would have been a little bit hard to deal with, but I think he just didn't see it coming at all and got totally blindsided by this. Now trying to go on the aggressive, 6 more Adepts, and Resonating Glaives has finished. 3 Queens on the offensive still.
Stasis Ward here, not going to hit anything as it explodes. Second one there as well. And it looks for one more here. Micros back into it. Gets a few Lings. The Oracles are doing damage. There's just so many Zerglings here. The economy behind this is so weak. This is the last, I think, push we're going to see. Zest is only mining from a nearly mined out main base right now. Another decent one, but that's it. GG. Dark takes it. 2-0. The much better prepared player for this series. The much better control. And Zest just did not see the Queen Ling Baneling attack coming. A lot of his units got caught out in the middle of the map. They were not set up. They did not have multiple pylons there, and they had the one to overcharge. And then he was forced to go for that all-in attack, basically. He had no real way of taking the third base and playing a longer game, so he just took the tools that he had, all-in attacked, and Dark had enough to defend. The Baneling tech there. Stasis Ward's not finding value the first two. The second two were much better, but it was too late. So with this, Dark takes home that $800 split.
Yeah, does get the win, which it does secure him 6th place. 6th and 7th place for Premier is the same. They both have to go into Fastlane round 1. But either way, does pick up the $800 from the duo over Zest.
He will have 2 opportunities in relegations, Fastlane, quote-unquote, to make sure that he stays in Premier. So if he loses his first day, he will have a second day to maintain his spot. So he has 2 lives on his back. And like you said, Dark playing a great SSL Premier with the exception of the ZVZ. And with 2 other Zerg players in this round robin, that was pretty significant. So painful to have to go out like this, especially after being the finalist of last year's SSL Season 2.
His ZVP is looking really good too. He defeated both Patience and Stats. The other 2 Protoss were SOS and Zest, the 2 bottom players of the tournament. So definitely want to look towards those wins over Stats and Patience as more of an indicator. But either way, I feel like he had a decent tournament overall, and I think he has a pretty good chance to make it through back to Premier. So I would expect him to see him again, Dark.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's not one of the weaker players that will be in relegations. He just had the Achilles heel of the ZVZ. So here's the results today. We had a lot of 2-0s, 3 quick matches of 2-0s with Biel, SOS, and then Innovation, bopping Stats. Alive versus Solar was a much better series and kind of an upset there. Alive was able to take it 2-1. Their last series was just a little bit sad, I feel like, there at the end. Zest being totally shreked all season long. With SOS's win today and his loss, he will actually end up in 10th place, the lowest indicator of -10. So different than what we would have expected going into this season.
Yeah.
And his GSL results as well, just so poor right now. I hope that he can return to form because he's a big fan favorite in the StarCraft scene here and abroad.
Yeah, so guys, we do have the playoff schedule ready with our players next Monday, or rather not next Monday, but the Monday after that. So we have a 2-week break, or rather just a 1-week break, and then we get to it. So 2 weeks until our playoff round 1. That will be Solar versus Stats, and then a Thursday cast after Classic. On Thursday will be Bill versus the winner of round 1, either Solar or Stats, and then of course the finals will be on June 10th. Between Innovation and the winner of the round 2.
So you can watch Brood War and StarCraft 2 on the same day, and that is of course going to happen in the finals as well. So here are the matches. Thursday's matches for Classic. We Mind versus Free, Rain versus Hero, Sulky and Sock, and then Light versus Effort, and then Challenge, of course, with no audience on Saturday with yourself and Rapid, with those matches shown.
Deer versus Ryung, Beyond versus TY, Classic versus Hero. So we got a couple of mirror matchups there towards the end. TY versus Beyond should be pretty sick.
So exciting day of matches today. I think there were a lot more 2-0s than people expected. Innovation will be the finalist, and we're going to see who will go up to face him in that grand finals in the coming weeks. Been a pleasure casting with you tonight, Valdez.
Yeah, it was a bunch of fun games, even though it went a little bit faster than expected, as you were saying. Just a 3-hour cast today. But make sure you go out there, tell your friends that the playoffs will be in 2 weeks from now. Don't want to show up, you know, at that godforsaken hour, what time you're watching this, if you are in America, on a Monday if there's no cast. Also, we do have the group nomination for the round of 16 of GSL Season 2. They're on Wednesday, so check that out if you're interested. Usually pretty fun, lots of jokes thrown around, lots of trash talk. Always like to tune into that myself.
Absolutely, same here. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this evening. That's it for us. No tiebreakers next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with Playoff. And if you're a Brood War fan, myself and Rapid will see you on Thursday for more SSL Classic. Have a great night.
This world has got to change.